Hey, good day, folks. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I know I cannot complain. Uh, we're going to be driving through the city of Columbiana, Alabama. And I'm just going to give you some basic information about this city, and then we're going to have a discussion on this video. So, Columbia, Alabama is located in Shelby County. It is 42 minutes south of Birmingham and a little over an hour north of Montgomery. The population here is 4,197 people, with a population growth of 8.1% as of the 2020 census. Median home price is going to set you back at $248,000. Now, there are a few houses for less than $248,000, but not many. The lowest price house that's currently for sale is at about $200,000. If you're looking to rent, your rent prices are going to go from $710 to $1,230 a month. Now, when it comes to crime, the crime numbers, taking into consideration the high cost of living here, the crime numbers aren't exactly the best. But apparently it doesn't seem to bother too many people because you do got people moving here. But that doesn't always mean everything. But anyhow, the crime numbers are going to be double the national average. The violent crime is going to be double the violent crime is going to be double the national average, and property crime is about average. So crime numbers, in my opinion, for a community where housing prices are this expensive, me personally, I would want to see lower crime numbers. Now, when it comes to the racial demographics, it's 69.7% white, 25.9% black, 1.7% Hispanic. And when it comes to entertainment, there's not really a whole lot to do around here. Seeing when I drove around here, I would say for the most part, it doesn't seem like a bad place to live. It seems like a fairly quiet and safe place for the most part. Now, I will say the cost of living here is way too expensive. Even if I had the money, there's other places that I've recorded that I'll go and live over in one of those places before I would live over here. That's my opinion. But when it comes to entertainment, there's not really a whole lot to do. For entertainment, you're going to have to either travel to Birmingham or Montgomery or Tuscaloosa, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from here. You got the Beeswax Creek Park, and you got the Shelby County Museum and Archives. That's about all you got for entertainment around here. So there's not really a whole lot to do. Now, maybe somebody who's familiar with this community can drop a comment in the comment section and let me know why it is that the housing prices here are so expensive and what's drawing a lot of people to move around here. It doesn't seem like a bad place to live. I'm not saying all that. I'm just saying that the housing prices, at least in my opinion, ought to be a little lower. But I don't know. I'm not from this area. Maybe somebody who's from the area or is familiar with the area can shed a little bit of light on what's going on around here. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. So holler at me in the comment section. All right, folks. Let's have our little discussion. Now, recently, I'm pretty sure many of you who watch the news, you have heard all the negative news about there being a recession looming in this country. Well, let me be the one to enlighten many of you that there's been a recession going on since last year. So the fact that there's a recession going on is nothing new. It's been going on for a year. So if you didn't know that, now you know, because I told you so. And I'm pretty sure many of you have heard, or you may have seen on your local news station, the increased amount of people that are ending up homeless and ending up either living in the streets or they're having to live with friends and relatives. And there's also been an uptick of people recently that have purchased homes within the last few years that are no longer honoring their mortgage agreement. They're not paying their mortgage. They're allowing their house to go into foreclosure. And let me tell you the reason why some of that is going on. Now, as far as it goes for the recession, for those of you that are my age, give or take, or older, we tend to notice a trend. We tend to notice a pattern in this country. The pattern in this country being, I would say every 15 years, give or take, this country is going to go through some major economic catastrophe for one reason or another. And I don't really want to get too much into politics. I'm just going to say that regardless of who, we all have our feelings of who's better in office when it comes to a political party, but this is not a political channel, so I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to say that if you pay attention and you study the trend of the United States and countries similar to the United States, typically every 15 years, or maybe every 10 to 15 years, give or take, there's typically going to be some sort of a major economic catastrophe that's going to go on, to where a lot of people are going to lose their jobs potentially, and due to job losses, a lot of people are going to face home foreclosures, and there's going to always be something else that's going to enter in the mix. Like, during the recession of '08, the issues that we had were, you had a lot of people that were taking out mortgages with adjustable rates. And then when that balloon came, a lot of people were unable to honor those payments, and therefore they lost their homes. You had that. You had a lot of people losing their jobs. You had a lot of major banks that went under. But all they had to do was go cry to the government, and since they decided to cry to the government at that time, they all got bailed out. But I'm not getting too much into that. Y'all know what it is. Now this time, what we got going on, some of you say that we're not going to have another 2008. Me, I'm not going to, honestly, I'm thinking that it's very possible that we could have another '08. It's also very possible that it could be worse than '08. Could it be better than '08? Could it be not as bad as '08? That's possible too. I'm not going to sit here and make any predictions, because last year, around this time of the year, I predicted that this year was going to be a total disaster when it came to the housing market. Like, when I say a disaster, I was thinking that housing prices all over the country were going to drop. Well, rather than housing prices dropping, housing prices from last year to now have in many places in the country have actually increased. Like in Indiana, housing prices have increased. In many parts of Bristol, Kentucky, and Tennessee, the housing markets that I've been focusing on, the housing prices for the most part have increased. Inventory has continued to get smaller. Here in Alabama, now here in Alabama, if you go to northern Alabama, or you go to certain parts of northern central Alabama, again, housing prices all in all since a year ago have increased, and the inventory has gotten smaller. Now you go to other parts of Alabama to where the market is not as busy, to where the areas are not as much in demand. The housing markets in those places may have slowed down a little bit. Housing prices in those areas may have come down a tad. But even in those places, I would say for the most part, housing prices haven't really came down. And those markets, from what I'm able to see, are fairly steady. And of course, as you all know, there's been also like what's going on right now. You got inflation, and at the same time, housing prices are insane right now. Rent prices are also insane in most parts of the country. I mean, you got people. You got people nowadays paying out an average of $500 a month for an automobile payment. You got people paying an average of $1,000 a month for rents. So, and I would say due to the pandemic of 2020, when it comes to the rent prices being so high, my guess of why rent prices are so high these days, you got a mixture of many of your landlords trying to recuperate all the money that they lost during the pandemic, with the fact that since housing prices in so many parts of the country have increased, property taxes have also increased. The cost of utilities have increased in many parts of the country. The cost of home maintenance and repairs have increased. So you got your landlords that are having to swallow all that. They're having to pay for all that. And if anyone thinks that these landlords are going to pay for all that without passing any of that cost on to you, the tenant, you're living in fantasy land. Because being a landlord is a business like any other business. Just like any other business, your landlord intends to make money. They intend to use those properties as a tool to make a living, to where they can support themselves, support their family, build a retirement for themselves when they get old and don't want to work no more, or they're not able to work. So I guess what I'm saying in that regard is you can't always look at your landlord as being the bad guy. Now, are there landlords out here that are greedy? Are there slumlords out here? Of course there are. But I would say in most cases, these landlords are simply trying to make enough money to where it's going to even be worth their while taking the chance of being a landlord and renting out their properties to tenants. It's like when you go to Walmart, when you go, whatever store you go to for your groceries, grocery prices have went up due to the time of inflation. Car prices have went up because for a couple of years, cars weren't being manufactured at the rate that they should have been due to everything being closed down during 2020 and in some parts of the country during 2021 too. So that's one of the big reasons why automobile prices have went up. And even the cost of a used car have went up. So when it comes to your housing, like when it comes to looking for a place to rent, that's why rent prices are so high. Now, I guess the question many of you are probably asking yourself in these crazy times is, what can you do to still survive? What can you do to still perhaps live your best life and be as happy as possible and not drive yourself completely insane? I mean, what can you do? Now, some of what I'm getting ready to say, I mean, it might be easier said than done, but these are my suggestions. Now, for those of you that are currently paying rent, you're sick and tired of paying rent, you want to purchase something right now. First of all, I would say, as much as you may not want to renew your lease because your rent prices are higher. Now, obviously, for those of you that got children to raise, you're going to have to, your choice is A, you can sign that lease and continue to pay whatever rent that your landlord charges you. 2, you can decide, F and I'm not going to sign. You can choose to go ahead and purchase. For those of you that have the financial ability to purchase, you that got children, those are going to be your only choices. Now, there's always a third option. Maybe if it's feasible for your family, you can even go out here and purchase yourself a fifth wheel or a travel trailer that's big enough to accommodate your family and just pay rent at different campsites. And every so often, maybe you can boondock at different truck stops like Love's and Flying J and places like that. I mean, I would say now, if you're single, you're by yourself, or it's only you and your significant other, people in that category have many more options. Obviously, if you're renting, you can just sign the lease, pay the increased rent, or if you're financially able to, you can purchase, or you can do like Tim of Sarasota Tim is doing. The video I showed you guys yesterday. You can get you a small 16-foot travel trailer and live out of that. Or if you're by yourself, you can even live out of a van. Now, me personally, if I was going to live the nomad life for an extended period of time, I would prefer to have a travel trailer. I would want to have at least some of the basic, comforts of home, so to speak, such as a bathroom, a place to take a shower, a place where I can go and cook me at least a healthy meal, somewhere to where I can refrigerate some eggs, some fruits, some vegetables, some chicken, stuff like that. So, for those of you that are currently paying rent, you're itching, you don't want to pay rent no more, so therefore you're itching to purchase something. I mean, my advice to you people would be, wherever it is you're trying to live, obviously, if you find something, make sure you're not getting ripped off. Now, if there's an area that you desire to live in, and the house that you want to buy or the neighborhood that you want to purchase in, like back in 2019, if that house was priced at, let's say, $100,000, and now in 2023, that same house is priced at something ridiculous like 200 grand or 250 grand, and that particular area is the exact same area, nothing in it has changed for the better, it's the exact same area as it's always been. It's just that due to the crazy housing market, the house is now double or even triple the price or the value of what it was back in 19, I would say in a situation like that, my suggestion would be to just sit back, wait for a little bit of time, wait for maybe a year or 2 years, wait for that price to drop a little bit, and then buy. And I would say in many parts of the United States right now is a terrible time to go out here and buy a house, because you buy a house right now, you're going to most likely overpay. If the area is a highly desirable area, not only are you going to probably get yourself involved in a bidding war, but as a result of that bidding war, if you win that bidding war, you're going to overpay for that home substantially. And you might even put yourself in a situation to where you're going to sign a mortgage agreement that you may not be able to afford. It's going to really stretch you out financially. You may not be able to afford it. Or two, you think you can afford it at that particular moment, but then when you factor in home repairs, property taxes, homeowners insurance, all your other bills you have, like all your other debts and all that good stuff, you might find out later that, oh shit, I can't afford this house. I got too many other things financially going on. And when that happens, either A, you're going to find yourself working 60, 70 plus hours a week just to afford everything, or you're going to find yourself foreclosing on your home because you can't afford it. So my suggestion would be, even in this crazy housing market, don't buy a home that you're not able to afford, first and foremost. Secondly, do not overpay for a home. Whatever home you buy, even in this market, make sure the house is going to be priced, reasonably. Make sure you can also afford it. Now, if you're sick and tired of paying rent, you're tired of your landlord, you think your landlord is putting you over the coals with what they're going to charge you for rent, I get it, I got it. I would say another alternative is, provided that you're either living by yourself or maybe you're living with just one other person and you two get along exceptionally well. Another alternative is you can temporarily live the nomadic life. You can, if you have maybe, $10,000 to $12,000 sitting around, you can go out and buy yourself a 16-foot travel trailer, kind of like that video I showed you yesterday of Sarasota Tim. You can buy you something like that, something that's light enough to where you can pull it using a SUV. He's got a Toyota 4Runner, so you don't have to have this big, massive, dually diesel gas guzzler. You can pull it with a SUV, a small one, like a Toyota 4Runner. You can do something like that if you have the money. If you don't got the money, to buy yourself a half-decent travel trailer, then you can always go out here and purchase a full-size van. If you can't find a full-size van, you can always purchase even a minivan. Now if you go on my channel, I do got a couple of videos of minivan setups. In fact, I got 3 videos of a minivan setup. I got 3 different videos on my channel. The last video I made of my van setup, I believe, was maybe a couple of months, give or take. So just go on my channel, type up fan build or some shit like that, and you'll find my numerous videos that I got to where I took a minivan and I set it up for living out of. Now, as I told you guys before, I only live out of my van part-time. Like when I'm on my road trips, just to save money on hotel stays, I sleep out of my van. Now, for some of you who are sick and tired of your landlord, you're sick and tired of paying that $1,000 a month or so for rent just to live somewhere that's not the hood, I would say for some of you at least, you might want to take into consideration, whatever vehicle you're driving, maybe you might want to, maybe you might want to trade it in and buy you a minivan or a full-size van if feasible financially. Or if you have a little extra money sitting around, you can keep your current vehicle and you can go out here and look around for a minivan for a few $1,000s or a full-size van for a few $1,000s. There are some that are out here. I've seen vans that appear to be decent. The mileage isn't too ridiculous. The condition isn't, too rough. I've seen vans out here that you can buy private party for $3,000 and $4,000. You can buy something like that and then spend an additional, I would say, $1,000 to set it up. Like you can put whatever kind of bed you want inside. Like for my van, I just got a regular twin size mattress sitting on a metal frame sitting on a adjustable metal bed frame that I purchased at Walmart for I paid $100 for the frame, I believe, and the mattress that I have sitting on it was another $100, give or take. I purchased it brand new at Goodwill. Goodwill does sell mattresses brand new. That's where I got mine from for my van. And I also went to Lowe's for maybe, I think that's like $20. I went to Lowe's and I purchased a piece of plywood that they cut the size to where I was able to fit it on the bottom of my bed frame. And then on that, I put my twin size mattress. So, and again, I got this on my channel. This is all on my channel. So feel free to come on my channel and check out my van builds. So if you're looking to save some money on housing, but you may not necessarily be ready to purchase, or there's nothing out here that you want, or if you purchase now, you're going to most likely overpay and overlook a bunch of important critical things, that's another option. You can always live out of your van. You can always buy you a van and live out of a van temporarily. You can always, if you have the money, buy you a small travel trailer that you're able to tow using a smaller SUV. You can always go that route and then just pay rent at campsites. Or you can even boondock. But if you're working a 9-to-5 storefront job, then you're going to need a campsite to park it. And a good thing about the advantage of parking at a campsite and paying lot rent there, as opposed to rent an apartment is for starters, you're gonna have to spend the money on your travel trailer. But that travel trailer is going to be yours. So even after you choose to buy yourself a house down the road, you can still keep your travel trailer. You can still keep your travel trailer and use it for vacations, use it for camping trips. Or two, if you don't want it, you can sell it and get at least most of your money back, depending on the condition of the travel trailer when you choose to sell it and how old it is at that point. And the good thing about a campsite is if you don't like where you're at any given time, you can just hook it up to your vehicle and move to another site. For some of you, you can even, it's like, hey, during the summertime, you can go somewhere up north and be up there And then when it gets cold up there, you can go somewhere down south and be somewhere down south. You can kind of follow the climate a little bit. That have the money and the financial means to purchase a home. I mean, like I told you earlier, make sure that you're not getting ripped off on your house. Like I said earlier, if you look at a house in the area that you desire, if that particular house was selling for, let's say, 100 grand back in 19, and now that house is selling for 200 grand, chances are fairly decent that you're overpaying for that house, and you're going to be better off waiting until another time to buy that house. Or two, you might want to go look at another area to where housing prices are a little more reasonable. To where, yeah, the housing prices in the area may have went up a little bit, but it didn't go up anything ridiculous. And of course, when you buy a house, you're going to want to do your due diligence. I mean, I don't care how busy the housing market is. I don't care how many people your realtor tells you are looking at the house and inquiring. I don't care. Whatever house you look at, I don't care where it's at. I don't care what kind of neighborhood. I don't care if the house is brand new or it's older. Doesn't matter. I don't care. You're going to still want to do your due diligence. You're going to want to do your due diligence about the neighborhood if you're not familiar with the neighborhood. You're going to want to go ahead and hire yourself a licensed home inspector that's honest and knows what the hell they're doing to thoroughly inspect your house. Make sure it's not all messed up. Told you a while ago on one of my other videos I made about home inspections. A decent home inspector typically is going to take 4 to 6 hours to inspect a average size house. So if you're buying a house that's, let's say, 1,500 square feet, if the home inspector of your choice tells you that they'll have your home done in 2 hours, you're going to want to go ahead and cancel that person and go hire somebody else. Now, if you hire someone else and they tell you, okay, well, we typically do 46 hours of inspection, that's going to most likely be the inspector that you're going to want to hire, because most likely they're going to do a much more thorough job at inspecting that property. And of course, don't ever, this is home purchasing 101 for all you newbies out there. Don't ever take your realtor's recommendations for a home inspector. If your realtor recommends you to have such and such person do a home inspection, automatically don't use that inspector, because that inspector most likely is going to get a little kickback from the realtor. So if that person inspects your house, they're going to most likely lie to you about what's going on with the house. They'll tell you a few truths, but they're going to also tell you a lot of lies and leave out a lot of important information. And if you choose to go forward and buy that house, her is going to give that home inspector a small kickback for getting you to buy that house. So when it comes to home inspections, always hire your own inspector. Look for your own inspector. Hire your own inspector. Don't deal with anyone that's through your realtor or through your real estate company. Get your own. I can't emphasize that enough. Alright, this video is going to end, but I'm going to keep on talking. I'm going to keep on talking to you guys for a hot second here. So yeah, whenever you buy a house, get it inspected. Know the neighborhood. Don't ever buy a house with sight unseen. Like I've told you on other videos, step foot physically in the area. Physically step foot and walk around the house. Hire a licensed home inspector. And, there's there's more that I can say, but I think everything I needed to say, I've said. And those are my suggestions to living, to coping with this crazy housing market, coping with this crazy time of inflation. So if I can think of anything else to say to help you guys out, I'll just make a part two. All right, folks, I'm checking out.